Hello and welcome to another episode of GayBCD. Hi, Farhad.
Hi, Sunetro.
Oh my God, that's so cheery. Like,
I'm not even sad, I'm just so irritated today. I'm short with
why?
everything. Everyone, no idea. No idea. I'm just so fucking short. Look at my background. We'll come to that because our topic is in that domain today at some point. But I just hate my life right
Sure.
now. I hate everything. I hate my background. I hate my foreground. I hate my playground. I don't know.
Foreskin.
Yeah, might as well. Why not? Why not? Everything. Everything. I hate Mother Teresa. I hate Oprah. I
Bichari
don't
ne
know.
kya
I hate
kiya?
who Mother Teresa.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of Oprah and opening up, let's talk about our three segments today. And let's open up about something that's very current in TikTok, our first segment, which is the International, Trans Day of Visibility. And uh, why it's important for me to kind of put it out there is because I think we tend to conflate the whole queer experience very often. And sure, queer as a the queer movement as a movement obviously is a unifier, but it's also, I feel, important to call out a day like, especially on a day like this,
Mm.
that the struggles of our trans sorority and brethren, brothers and sisters, um, is very different for all cis men and women. It I think just compound it and multiply it by like 20, because it's a whole different thing. So I think on this day, i I would like to ask you, what would you want to do, what would you want to put out there, and then I can come to that like later. What would you want to put out there for
For starters,
uh
I realized that I wouldn't know any of these days if the internet did not exist. And that includes
hmm,
birthdays and anything. Like, I did not, I know there is the Trans Visibility Day now. Yeah.
hmm,
But I did not know it was until yesterday, until I saw a lot of posts about it, until a lot of people I follow online and I get it. But I don't know. I don't know what I know it's a celebration of some of another marginalized section of our community, but I don't know what to do with that information, and I know about it.
no, but what would you wish for? Not That's the idea, right? For a day, that it's not for a
Mm,
day. On a day, you kind of figure, you kind of hone your thoughts towards how you want to work. That's what pride is. Pride isn't about one day. Pride is about saying that this time, this focus time, we kind of come together and really blaze our thoughts and put our minds to how for the rest of the year we will be like, and what we will fight for, and what we will stand for.
mm.
So for me, that's the question out there. What um yeah, like, it's not about how you would celebrate, because um it's about how you would make the smallest iota of a difference, um for the trans community, for our friends, our brothers, our
Mm,
sisters.
mm. Uh, I will stop. I know one thing I'll stop doing, which I realize might not be right on some levels, and maybe you can tell me if it's not right. But how do I say this? There's no nice way to say this. I'll just say this because there's no way of me being politically correct about this. Yeah. So I identify as bisexual. Yeah. And lately I find myself being attracted to a lot of transgender folks on Instagram. Yeah. And a lot of times I tend to think that wow, she's so fucking hot as a dude and as a girl. I tend to sometimes I do think that. In fact, even one of the people I'm really into right now on Instagram has transitioned, and somewhere I feel like that's wrong of me to do. That I kind of still weigh them in their binary in some way in my head. So I know that's something I got to work towards in terms of like, just because I don't know. I feel like it's something that comes from a place that doesn't need to be done, actually. But I can't help but myself, but like not only sexualize in some way, like, oh my God, because I gotta say this, right? Like again, this thought of wow, he was a hot boy also, and now she's a hot girl. I feel like somewhere that is not right of me to do. I don't know. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll not maybe, it's something I gotta like stop seeing a lot of times. And also like because these channels now exist for me to have that kind of visibility, right? Today, if I say that, oh, in the absence of Instagram and TV and everything else, movies and all, I would not know anything about this whole culture, this whole subset of our community, so now that I'm being exposed to it so much, I feel like I need to traverse it also, like in the right way possible. So
Makes
that's
sense.
yeah, that's pretty much my efforts.
Makes sense. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
yeah. Sorry. I don't know.
Great
Thanks,
conversation.
thanks.
All right.
I feel
Great
so.
dialogue.
No. We'll go. I don't know. I feel like I'm just very drab today, and I don't know if I'm making
Hi,
sense.
this is
And
a two-person conversation, Farhad.
exactly. Hi, Sunetro. No. Just tell me if I'm not making sense or something, because I'm like, did I make
No,
sense
no, as in,
by what I said?
of course you made sense. Of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay, so since it's so I will talk about what my part is since you're not
I
leading me towards
no.
that.
It's not about leading.
Yeah,
Obviously, I
so what I
expect
would
you to say
no
what
no
you
no
think
no.
about it.
So here's the thing. Now what I would want to do is drawing from my experiences as a queer person. I I think one of the things that I want to definitely do is be very cognizant and also call it out whenever there is any kind of trigger conversation, trigger communication, trigger expression happening. For example, one of the things that you talked about was, oh, so that person looks so pretty for someone who's trans. When someone
Yeah.
says something like that, at the very
Okay.
base, the assumption is that trans is ugly, and you kind of made it, and that's something that for me is wrong. And for me, I call it out every single time I hear it around me.
Okay.
I call it out.
Okay.
For example, when someone fetishizes someone who is trans, so there's one thing to say, oh, so this I find this person beautiful. But to say, this person's trans, and guess what? Oh my God, they are so hot. It I kind
Yeah.
of engage in a conversation where I say, this is a person. Let's forget the gender. Let's forget how they present. And you find them attractive. That's all that there is. Let's not get into for trans, this person looks attractive. And so I think that's one thing. I know this is it's like a microcosm in the larger struggles where of the trans community, where trans people are being killed every day. But this is what's accessible to me because I have access to people and people's conversations and for a crowd that I'm kind of privy to, which prides itself on being very evolved. I still think the proprieties of how to treat the trans community is very, very low. I remember a cousin of mine who's very vocal about gay rights and all of that. I remember a couple of years back, she said something to the effect of, I get so pissed off when I see hijras at the
Signals,
traffic crossings, and because why can't they get a job? I mean, they should just get a job. And it took me time, but I had to explain to her that why don't you employ someone? And then her immediate point was, well, they're not dressed the way properly. I said, see, that's where you're wrong. And then it kind of, and it wasn't a fight, but it was a slow, gradual, at every step, unraveling. And for me, like, I think that's that's how I would. That's what I would like to do this the next till the next year, and let's see. Let's hope that there's some change that kind of comes through.
You say that, and so many times I've heard 2-3 times. There have been 2-3 instances where I've heard gay guys say something like, till recognizing that you're gay and lesbian and out there, it's fine. But the moment you are like considering changing your sex or that's too much, like there's some kind of a threshold where it's supposed to stop or something.
No, and I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, this has always been there. Today it's gay and lesbian, it's okay. But there was a point of time it was, okay, so as long as you mess around, it's okay. But ultimately you marry someone of, the opposite sex. Now it's kind of gone to, okay, so gay and lesbian is okay, but trans is, oh my God, too much. So I think it's like we just have to keep pushing boundaries in the midst of, this right-wing world that there is.
Sometimes I wish you've seen that Adam Sandler movie Click. I wish.
Yeah. I could just pause. No, I wish I could pause and hit a couple of people. Like that would be more satisfying, But yeah, on that note, I think that's our TikTok for the week, and we'll be right back in 2 minutes. And get into our main conversation for the day, which clearly Farhad has a very clear segue into, which is according to him. I didn't call it out. I have no issue.
Well, luckily Squid showed up to make my background better.
Yeah, he's the best thing about the background today, about all backgrounds today.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back. And we're back with a very pissed off Farhad for some reason. All right. So in Big Talk, our topic is hygiene. We're talking about the concept of hygiene, the spectrum of hygiene, and how it's a very contentious issue for us queers, to be honest. Well, Farhad, why don't you take the lead, and why don't you talk about why we are talking about it?
To give you a little background, why I'm so irritated is because it's been a month since I shifted, okay, and I just feel like look at your background, right? It looks so pleasant, and there's a good light there, and I just feel like my ghar ka kaam is not ending, and now it's I'm fed up of living in this kind of a clutter, and no matter how much I'm throwing out, there's stuff still coming in. My kitchen's being done, so which is why, as you can see, there is a little cylinder there. My bookshelf has scented.
We can play Where's the Waldo. We can play Where's Waldo.
My bookshelf, because my TV unit has got stalled by around 20 days, so all my books are mixed with my Xbox and PlayStation games.
Good Lord.
And then beside my TV, you can see my mixers and grinders, but it's a fucking mess, and I'm so annoyed. It's just driving me insane, and it's taking forever. So
I mean, and do you feel like this when things are not fine, when things are not in order, when it comes to hookups too? Because I do. I have cancelled a date because I knew my tap was leaking.
You said this before.
Yeah. I mean, I'm much better now, but there was a point of time when I've cancelled dates because just it wasn't even a massive tap leak. It's just tap. That's it. It wasn't even in my bathroom. It was in my drawing room ka bathroom.
Yeah.
But yeah. Fucking triggered
happens to me all the time. First of all, if I hook up with someone, usually depends on my mental cleanliness. If everything's a mess above, I'll find the smallest reason to cancel, and I've been doing that honestly the last month because on one level I'm constantly feeling no, come on, you're in technically a new city. In that sense, I need to reacclimatize actually reacclimatize is not a word. I need to acclimatize to new gay guys and new this. I should be making friends, but somehow I just end up canceling all the time because I'm like, my house is not ready. My house is not ready. My house is not ready. That's one of the reasons. And secondly, I'm just like, anytime I get off work, I want to do nothing. I want to do nothing. So, yeah, I do that with hookups too. But physically, like physical space wise, I have to say, I'm not someone who's like crazy cleanliness OCD. I have weird OCDs like washing hands compulsively and all, but I'm not one to like, oh my God, such a mess. I can't live. Or sometimes, you go over to someone's
Which
house and you are like, constantly judgy, like, oh, this person, that, and all. If your kitchen is fine, I'm fine. If your
so
kitchen is fine, I'm okay.
so
Yeah.
that brings me to the next point, which is there's a fine line between being hygienic and then being finicky and obsessed and almost
Oh my
disrespectful.
God.
One, where do you stand there? Two,
To someone else, like all these things
let's
to
talk
someone
about
else.
Ye- yeah, of
Okay.
course. And two, let's talk about people who we know across the spectrum,
Hmm.
our experiences with people across the
Sure,
spectrum.
sure.
Yeah.
I've never been disrespectful to someone because I'll tell you what, one thing thanks to my mental illness, I've learned is a very simple thing which everybody learns at some point is the way you feel inside you, it slowly starts showing outside. And in my life, in my personal experience, I've started noticing that if my cupboard starts getting a little, I'll fold this later, I'll fold do
Hmm.
this later, I'll wipe that later. If that is starting to happen now, it's a sign for me to reflect internally and be like, hey, what's happening? Why are you
Hmm.
doing this? And then I quickly correct it. But it wasn't always like that, you
Hmm.
know. So if I find myself in a situation where someone else's cleanliness is in question, especially I don't mean personal hygiene, I mean like in terms of space. I don't question. I kind of understand, like, it stems out of so many reasons why this person would choose to live like
Yeah.
that. I would love to quickly say this anecdote. I was at work. I used to work in Mahim. This is around 2015, 2014, 2015. I used to work in Mahim, and I suddenly work was about to get done at around 6, 7. And I don't know why I thought, Farhad, you know what? You don't fucking hook up anymore. Why don't you hook up and stuff? So I went to Kinda and I started chatting with this guy in Marol. Okay, which is like around on Google Maps back then it showed close to like 50-55 minutes away or whatever
Hmm.
in Bombay, and 55 minutes excluding traffic. This is 2015, so
Hmm.
Google Maps wasn't so caught up that it would give you an exact time. Yeah.
Hmm.
I There were no Ubers, Olas, nothing. But I had a friend who was going one side, so he said, "I'll drop you till
Hmm.
there. From there, you can take a rickshaw." And next thing you know, I've done like this 1 hour journey to go meet some other person in some godforsaken side of Bombay. And you won't believe it. When I went into his house, it was a one-room kitchen, and uh, first of all, the stack of vessels in his kitchen. Okay, so it's a one-room kitchen, right? So his room and his kitchen is attached to each other, so you can't be on the bed and not see his kitchen. And I'm not kidding, there were at
Hmm.
least 2 weeks worth of dishes stacked in, like, it was taller than me. Okay, I'm not kidding. uh
Hmm.
Secondly, when we were about to make out and I put my hair, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna ignore that section. When we were about to make out, I felt something hard under my head, under the pillow, and I picked up the pillow, and there was a pizza box under the pillow. Okay, and I was just about to throw it, and he's like, no, no, don't throw it. That's from lunch. I will eat it at some point tomorrow. And suddenly I'm
Hmm.
like, you know,
Hmm.
this went on, and I was questioning the cleanliness of the bed sheet. I was
Hmm.
questioning everything. And long story short, I fucked him on the balcony then. He
Hmm.
told me very late that he had a balcony, which was surprisingly clean. And because it was
Hmm.
so late, point I don't know where he's coming from. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were like, it's a meme nowadays, where these fuckboy houses, you end up in their house and suddenly it's like a fucking clutter den, like, have you ever
So,
been in a situation like that?
so here's the thing. Now, I uh, I have always had issues with cleanliness, like a little too finicky. If I'm talking about finicky and obsession, I am on the finicky obsessive side of things being in order. Not like I need to wash everything 20 times a day, but yeah, like things being a particular way. And I also have been very, very cognizant that that is disrespectful to kind of point things out to people. So as a result of that, right from the very outset, there are very few times um, I've gone to someone's house. I've always invited people over. And that's just something that I've been very comfortable with. Uh, from the time I was in Bombay and hosting, I mean, when I was living in like a chawl, for example, like a one-room kitchen, even then, my house was spick and span. My house was really like, I knew it would be comfortable for no matter whom.
And that's just the thing about Bombay. Like, you're outside your house, it can be shit, but it's inside the house that suddenly transforms.
Yeah, exactly. So as a result of that, I just figured that I am the host always, and I continue being the host. And it's just not changed, and I've kind of avoided that and avoided the flip side of it, I would say. And whoever,
what's the flip side?
the flip side is being at someone's place where I'm being somewhere that you're not comfortable, that makes you kind of squirm, or it's just and it's nothing to do with the person, it's just a space that space creeps you out. And like I'll give you an example. When I came to Bombay, my first month, I'm so happy to have friends who had kind of told me that the first month, don't even bother, just stay with us. So 2-3 people I would keep, like week 1 I stayed with this person, week 2 I stayed with this person, and in the course of that I stayed with one acquaintance of mine. Um and that place really creeped me out because he wasn't as hygienic as I would want him to be. I never pointed anything out to him. I never, because I was grateful that he was offering me a roof. So I had said I would stay at his place for like a couple of days. I just found it too much to handle. So I made an excuse and I said, I found a place which is closer to my office. So let me stay there, but I'll definitely come and meet you. So I don't think it was my place to disrespect. Firstly, he is offering me a roof. Sure. I think it's very important
and in Bombay,
for me not
that's
to.
A lot.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. And I at this point, I won't even get into what was dirty. It just was dirty enough to make me uncomfortable.
Were you ever a messy person? Ever?
No, never.
Never, like since you were a teenager, a kid.
Never. I think
God.
that's what I think. I think I think that's overcompensation for the queerness and like
I wish
everything
I had that.
To be in an order.
I don't want to make this conversation very Freudian in nature, but the older I get, I've noticed the things my mom did excessively, I struggled to do them when I was growing up because my mom did it so much. So for example, my mom is the most, like, you hear terms like cleanliness freak and OCD and all, but my mom was batshit crazy about this kind of stuff. Like, right, you could get thrashed for just wearing chappals in the house. You could get thrashed. I'm not even saying like just a mild rap or just yelled at. Like anything could set her off. Like if your soap water dribbled out of your soap pod, or anything can become a thing. And what happened is, once I started living on my own, like I moved to Bombay and I started living on my own and stuff, there was that phase of like Oh my God, freedom. You know, it
Hmm.
happens with food. For example, you had fuck all ghar ka khana all your day. Suddenly you're living on your own. You want to eat everything
Order
from
every day.
outside. You
Yeah.
know, exercise is another thing I've noticed because my mom is such a fucking fitness freak. I
Hmm.
realized that I suddenly always felt like overshadowed by her fitness journey. I always got the look at your mom, look at you kind
Hmm.
of fucking conversation. So cleanliness also is in that fucking Rolodex
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
things,
Hmm. Hmm.
where I felt so a lot of times I tend to, when I see someone else that is messy, the
Hmm.
maximum I will do is ask them if their parents are OCD
Hmm.
freaks and all. And you'll be surprised more often than not, the answer
Hmm.
is like yes. And I kind of understand why someone else then chooses to, because to them it's freedom to live in a mess,
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
some way, and not
Yeah.
realizing that there's a thin line between freedom and then actually fucking being depressed by the space you live in.
Yeah.
Because it's a hack. Because I've seen
Yeah.
this classic art project once, which was this person holds up these little cue cards against the backdrop of their messy houses and writes their mental illness on them.
Hmm.
And it was a beautiful art project I'd seen once, and I really felt I understood a lot that day, basically. But you're saying
Hmm.
you're never a messy person, never.
I was never a messy person
Okay.
to the point that I would like scrub myself down there, back there
Hmm.
a little too much.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, messy, I meant
so
like
yeah, so
cupboard mein thoda clothes are all like a. Oh my, and you accessorize. I can imagine how neat your cupboard must look, because everything has to have its place, I guess.
color coordinated
Yeah.
in
Oh
that
my
sense,
God.
uh, uh, yeah, like I
Which is
like
why I wear
a certain
all my
amount.
shirts are black.
I like a certain amount of order in
Yeah.
my because see,
Yeah.
here's the thing. What I've faced in my life, and I'll get to the hygiene when it comes to sex part after this,
Hmm.
but while we're talking about spaces, there are two things, and it's important to open the Rolodex of families. There are two things I've noticed, and you've touched upon a very important point. I think we are informed by what the way our family kind of built their thoughts, built their
Hmm.
spaces,
Hmm.
and our thoughts kind of reject that. And I think that happened. So with my mom
Hmm.
and my grandmother and all of that, they were hoarders. They are fucking hoarders. Like, they had
Oh,
so much
okay.
stuff. So
Okay.
it wasn't untidy, it was just so much stuff that nothing was pretty.
Yeah.
Nothing was,
Yeah.
it was always an eyesore.
Yeah.
It could be clean, but it would be an eyesore because it was just so much stuff. And like my mom passed away in like 2011. Okay, this is 2021. uh and my dad had the same problem till date. Like, right now he's shifted to a new house. It is in 2021 that he's finally throwing stuff away, and he's fishing out stuff. Like, there were 3 suitcases full of, guess what, torn t-shirts, which were pochas, which were
I
meant to be
totally, I
pochas.
totally
And for
feel
me,
for it.
that's just fucking sick. I'm sorry. No, I do
No,
not feel for him.
I'll tell you.
I'm
No, no,
sorry.
I'll tell you
That's
where I'm
just
coming from.
mentally
Hang on,
fucking.
hang on.
I'm sorry. No, I'll tell you why I don't feel for him is because there has been enough conversation about this, and this is one of the reasons why I can't call that home anymore. I am That sense of home is broken. I can never go back to that anymore. That is just a house where
Yeah.
Subir Lahiri, my father, stays. And that home is never coming back to me because of him. And I will not forgive him for that.
I was coming from a
So,
place where, because I've just shifted, and I have to tell you something about me. I am, again, I'm not a messy, dirty person, but sometimes I have a tendency to hoard too. I tend to attach some kind of emotion to every single thing I own, whether it's something someone wrote to me in fucking 95, or it's like a t-shirt I slept a lot in and it has almost evaporated. So how can I throw it away? My queer as folk t-shirt, oh my God, which someone gave to me in 2007. Now it has like blotchy holes in it, but I still can't get myself to throw it just because. And but luckily for me, again, this shifting thing happened, and I had to kind of, I kind of knew it was a problem before, But because shifting happened, I had to Marie Kondo my life a little, and is it Marie Kondo or Mary Kondo?
I mean,
Got
it's
it.
Marie
Got it.
Kondo. I mean,
Okay.
it's a proper
Proper
noun, so you
noun.
can say it anyway.
Proper noun.
But yeah.
But because
you basically con-married the shit out of stuff.
Yeah.
You've con-married it because the process is con-married.
Yeah. Especially my kitchen stuff, because I love cooking, like, oh, this frying pan may, or this I had made, so I can't. This strainer may, so my strainer doesn't even work anymore. Sometimes I pour pasta into it, and fucking pasta falls out of it, and keema just falls out of it. And I'm like, why? I have a new strainer, I'll use it, but I can't get rid of the old one. So sometimes when I know someone else is like that, I kind of get the emotional background behind hoarding, at least hoarding.
So here's the thing with me. Over time, I trained myself, and my friends used to make fun of me because when we would go out for dinners, for example, if there was a little like something on the table, I would while conversations are happening, and it still happens subliminally, I would start cleaning that part of the table. Over time, what I've started doing is I've honed it down to my space. So if I'm at a table, I am only bothered about
your
my
section.
space.
Yeah.
I don't care about other people's sections. So which is why you want to hoard, you please hoard. Don't expect me to come and stay there. Yeah. That's about it.
Sorry,
I'm not going to tell you how.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you ever lived in a flatting situation where you had roommates and flatmates and
it was a conscious choice.
Okay.
That's why when
that's
why when I moved to Bombay, it was a conscious choice that maybe the last 4-5 days of the month I'll have to just drink milk and have cornflakes for dinner and breakfast. I won't afford anything else, but I will take that jump. I will take that little. I'll spend that little more money, but stay alone.
This is a classic. We both are on the opposite sides to give two different perspectives, because I'll tell you why. It's amazing that you said that, because you learned, I won't say cleanliness, but you understood order and hygiene in that sense, because you were responsible for your own space. You know what I mean? For me, it came through having to live with others, because when you are living in a house with other people and you realize that, yeah, sure, your own cleanliness is yours, but your space's cleanliness, for example, also relies on how clean someone else is. You suddenly start holding yourself to a certain kind of standard, especially, and touch wood, now that I'm out of it, this is the first time I'm actually living alone. Otherwise, I've had boyfriends, I've had like flatmates constantly, because again, how do you survive in Bombay otherwise? How do you pay rent if you don't share? But long story short, what happened with my flatmates was, because they were kind of, I wouldn't say messy, but for them, oh, haha, cockroach. Oh, haha, tissue paper, waste paper basket ke bahar gir gaya. Oh, it's okay. Those little things, once they started coming under my scanner, I started becoming the authority in the house who everybody had to please. And sometimes it was scary. I know my flatmates were scared of me, but I have no regrets. And I'll tell you why. Because ever since I moved out, there have been instances, or flatmates have moved out, they have thanked me for instilling that in them. And it's a thing I used to constantly, I realized over time, and I used to tell them, is because a lot of us leave our families to live on our own. Especially in our community, we sometimes have to part ways with our family to find our own fucking footing and live on our own or whatever. And what happens is your mind doesn't shift. You physically shift into a space, but sometimes, because you never know what is truly your home, you never treat it like your home. And I've seen that with my flatmates and all, where, oh, my parents live in Bangalore, my parents live in Jaipur, my parents live in Pune. So that is my actual house. That's the house I grew up in. Here I just stay on rent in Bombay. And that kind of thinking, when I realized that, no, actually, this is my house, this is my home. That's when I started realizing that some kind of cleanliness threshold happened in my head too. And again, when I say cleanliness threshold, I wasn't ever a food spoiled. That's a big no. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. When I've been to houses where food is spoiled in the kitchen, and like there's moss, and the bed sheets have not been changed in forever, and all of that. Again, no judgment, but I know that what I need to do at least to never like feel like that. So yeah, it's been
Yeah,
a
I
big
mean,
this.
yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to realize where we stand, to be honest. And so that brings me to the point of hygiene and sexuality, where do we draw the line? Because when it comes to other people's spaces, you can avoid it, but here you're talking about someone's body. You can't avoid it. That's something that you're kind
Personal
of,
hygiene.
yeah,
Okay.
and you will be intimate with someone. How do you traverse it? How do you
Touch wood. I've not been in a lot of situations where I've been. I have. Again, when I say not a lot of, there have been some. Mainly bad breath and bo.
Hmm,
I again, it's a turn off for everyone. Yeah,
hmm,
but I've never let it rob me of the experience or suddenly made me a dick to the other person. Because sometimes you read on Grindr,
hmm,
right? Bad breath, stay away, and body odor, big no, which is fine. We all that's a
hmm,
real
hmm, hmm,
valid
hmm, hmm, hmm,
preference. You just don't want someone because it is a turn off. But I remember there was this boy I had a massive crush on. Yeah. And every
hmm,
time we met, it was all fine. But the day we decided to hook up, he kind of he had BO. Yeah.
hmm,
And but by then, luckily, I was so into him that it kind of became pheromonal. I'm just gonna say it.
hmm,
But but I know in retrospect, it was BO.
hmm.
But after all, I just feel like you can always find a polite, nice way to just tell someone, that hey,
I I haven't always found that, to be honest. Like
oh no.
um I haven't always found that, and which is why there are times when I've been in a fix. I've gone with the motions,
Okay.
and I've really been in a fix. And like for example, there are things that, of course, I can. I think that's one of the reasons why I prefer getting to sex after there has been some
Mm,
breaking of
mm,
ice of conversations, and it could have been like overnight,
mm,
but the density of conversation has to be there um to be frank enough to say, just wait a minute, I'm gonna go uh go for a
mm,
mouthwash. There is a mouthwash in the other bathroom, you can also
mm,
go for
mm,
that if you want,
mm.
which I mean is very frank to say,
Yeah,
okay, so let's both be
yeah,
like
yeah,
get on the same
yeah.
page, or say that and मतलब खड़ा ही नहीं होगा ना, मतलब when I'm if I'm trying to have sex, it's just if
It
there's
can be a
something
huge turn off.
huge turn off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for example, you know, dick cheese, like that's just like
Oh my god.
gross.
Oh my
So I
god.
mean, that's just
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just gonna say it, I'm sorry. That just puts me off and turns me
yeah,
off,
yeah.
and so for me, I like discussing these things beforehand. I
Mm,
like
mm.
saying that there are I like clean
How do you
stuff.
beforehand? Okay,
Yeah,
you
like
just
I
establish it.
set the tone. What
Okay. But how do you like
I'm
beforehand say like, hey, do you have smegma, bro? Like, how do you? Which is, by
not
the way, one
smegma.
of
I
the
mean,
worst
uh,
words ever in the history of
so
words.
here's the thing.
Yeah,
Obviously, when we are talking to each other, there are things that we say, right? That things that are non-negotiable. So I say that the
yeah.
clean has to be like a if and you aren't. I mean,
Okay.
I'm also if I'm having sex with someone, if I'm conversing with someone, I would like to know that I would believe that they would I would have made the right
Yeah,
sort of inroad into someone's mind to
yeah,
send that message across that
yeah, yeah,
clean dick means no smegma.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah,
so
tell me something. Have you ever? Sorry, you're uncut too, right? Have you?
I'm cut.
Oh, you're cut.
Uncircumcised.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
uncut. I'm uncut. And the number of times someone asks me that, are you cut or uncut? And I say uncut. And then they follow it up with, hope you're clean. I always take it personally because I'm like, hey, buddy. I'm one of, first of all, I'll tell you, I've counted it as a personal curse since I was a kid. I am an OCD shower person. I shower every chance I get. Like, in fact, there's a running joke between all my different fuck buddies about how I have to specify beforehand the proximity the person is at before he reaches my doorstep. So I just have to have showered. It can't be like, oh, you reached, I'm 15 minutes before this person. So the running joke a lot of times is my flatmates have to open the door because more often than not, when the doorbell rings, I'm in the shower.
You're in the shower.
I'm in the shower. But so when someone suddenly tells me, hope your dick is clean and hope, will only suck if dick is clean and all of that, I take it a little, no, I get where they're coming from because you'd rather say that than suddenly find...
No, I know. But obviously no one knows your connection with cleanliness. So
exactly.
Like it's I'll give you an example. And this is going back to the home piece, okay? There's someone I used to hook up with just a couple of years back, and I used to live in a house where the basin, there was one wash basin which was outside the bathroom. There are a lot of these, lot of the Bombay houses. So right outside the bathroom, there's like this tiny thing where only Tom Thumb and Thumbelina can fit in. Okay. Like really small basin. So the tap, the tap for the basin, there was one such incident when it wasn't working, and that was the only basin in my entire house. And then there was, of course, the kitchen sink. So he came over, we had sex and all of that, and then we ordered some food. And while we were eating, after the food was done, so he said, oh, where do I wash my hands? So I said, the kitchen thing is there. And his reaction was, ew, I'm never going to come to your house. You brush there. And this guy's been at my house like a lot of times, and he's very sensitive. He's very, he's a good person, good at heart. I felt so personally, like, attacked, that I went silent. Like I was so angry that I was silent for like 10 minutes and got scared. So he asked me, and I was like, don't touch me. Like, do not touch me. And then finally I told him that you do not come to my house. You do not come under my roof and insult me like that. Never. If you have a problem, please leave my house. I don't think we should see each other if you have such a big problem. Please understand that there is a sink that is not working. I could have had a financial issue for not having been able to fix it. What you've made me do is made me feel like shit for something that's really not that big a crime. I don't have food all over my kitchen sink. It's an empty kitchen sink. You can easily just go there and wash your hands. I'm not telling you to clean the kitchen sink. That's not that big a deal. And it's a clean kitchen sink. So that kind of was like I do take
really
it
hits hard.
Which is, I think, which
again, is why it's also, I guess, very awkward for us to tell someone else something in that.
Absolutely.
When on my first job, when I had just shifted to Bombay, a new guy joined our company, and I cannot that's, first of all, this was 12, 13 years ago, but the only memory of him, like while I'm bringing him up in this conversation right now, I literally know what his body odor was. It was this very particular, I would say, stench. It wasn't even a smell. It was, and the thing was, everybody obviously could smell him, and it was whisper conversations. Then they started like behind, and I did not like that, because I kind of understand, dude. And this is where I start going a little crazy, because here's the deal, right? I made an anonymous email then, and then I mailed this person saying that, hey, I work with you, and I couldn't get myself to say this to you, but I hope you know that you suffer from a little bit of a body odor issue. And then I gave links to like websites where how to change your diet to smell better, like actual helpful links and all of that. So it worked then. Okay. He never replied, but surprisingly he stopped smelling bad. Actually, no, there was a phase then, uh, oh my god, I can't believe I want to say this. But there's a phase with people who have body odor sometimes where they start applying deodorant, and then it
And then
combines
it
to make
mixes.
a third bad smell. Like you can't really, you have to think of multiple things, like what material you wear, what kind of detergent you use, what's your diet like. There's so much shit that goes into like just smelling okay. But yeah, I guess it becomes awkward for us to tell other people. But there have been instances where I once went out to a Halloween party in Kolaba, and I saw the most beautiful Japanese boy. He was dressed as Flash, okay? So he only had his underwear, but he was painted. All he had was his underwear on, but he was painted red from his fucking face to his toes, okay? And we hung out a couple of times, and he was beautiful, okay? The day he decided to come over to sex, yeah, I know he had eaten some kind of chicken tikka roll or something. I got a garlicky note on his breath, and I kind of joked about it. I was like, I hope you enjoyed whatever you ate before you came here. And, but in a way, I don't know. I guess I came across as friendly, and he did not get very like, oh my God, what is my breath, this and all of that. So I guess I believe on one level it's always the best thing to do is let someone know, but I also feel the best way, there's always a best way to let someone know also.
So
unlike
here's the
in
thing,
your case where that guy was just rude to you and suddenly AOG.
Yeah,
it can't be
because
like that
firstly,
ever.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now my point is, I would, if I have to say something to someone, and for example, um there's a fuck buddy of mine once. There was a so he stayed over, and we had Chinese the previous night, and like the typical oily five spice Chinese. And so in the morning I was a little peckish before he woke up, so I had a bite of like the noodles, and then I came to him and I wanted to kiss him, and he was like, no, you go brush again because that smell is still there. And that was fine because that was friendly. It wasn't derogatory. It wasn't ew, chee. It was like, please brush karke aana. Matlab uska aa raha hai. That's far more. That's far better. It's not denigrating me, and I kind of take a leaf from how I felt that day when this guy told me, like, the tone that he used, that I would never want to do something like that. So, for example, a couple of days back, I hooked up with someone for whom anal was fairly new. So he hadn't really like douched. So I told him that, do you want to do that? Because it'll be easier for you. It'll feel better and there will be no accidents. And so he did. And it was like, it was just, if you approach it with empathy, I think that's the idea, because in the name of hygiene, I'm so fucking tired of people being so proud of oh, I'm a Monica, I'm OCD. Fuck that. Like, that pisses me off, because that's just your way of showing the world that you clearly don't have a personality, and then that's your personality. Like, you're trying to, like, you cleaning, I'm sorry, is not a personality trait. That's just something everyone does. Some do more, some do less.
I get offended with this whole OCD conversation in a different.
Exactly. It's an actual. Go ahead.
But no, because for me, I've had dentists tell me, dude, you're scrubbing your enamel off. Stop brushing your teeth that much. I've had, what sebum is in your skin. I've actually depleted. There was one point of my life where my OCD was so high and I was washing my hands so much. I had depleted the sebum in my hands, because of which my hands would soak up water, and I'm not kidding, my hands would look like that fucking ugly thing from Fantastic Four. They would crack, like they look like fucking Thar desert, my hands. I'm not even kidding. That's the kind of cracks I would get. And so when someone does this whole, oh, I'm Monica and shit, I'm like, shut the fuck up. You know,
Exactly.
just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's great that you're clean, but stop shoving it down my throat because I will scrub my hands raw to prove that I am worse than you, you know. But again, it's not a competition. But sorry, coming back to this morning breath thing you said, I've always noticed that one of my litmus tests of knowing how I feel about a person is how okay I'm with their morning breath.
Oh, I am not okay with anyone's morning breath. I am not okay. Period.
Okay.
Because
okay.
So my thing is that
That's the thing. Neither am I. But there have been times where I've felt like, no, I love this person. It's okay. It's morning breath. You know. Then
No,
I don't.
no. So this part is almost I'll do shit without this part. Like
Okay.
I'll be like
amazing.
zip, but I'll do stuff.
Oh, you'll do shit. I was like, you'll do shit and what?
Okay. So I will do shit by zipping this part up.
Yeah.
But
okay.
a morning breath cannot. Like I just cannot.
Okay.
And I'm very open about it.
Yeah.
That no, mere se na ho
I
payega.
hate my own. Anyone hates.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's the worst. But I've always noticed that Farhad, love hua rahega tere ko if you're okay with this person's morning breath, you know. Yeah, it's and lately, like, even can I tell you something? I recently took my parents to get vaccinated, so I had to wear a mask, and I went to the hospital. And the whole day, I don't know why I kept thinking, is my breath off under that mask?
I always carry
is my breath
clothes
off?
because of mask, because I'm not traveling now, but like because I am going out and stuff. I carry a whole canister of cloves. So and literally nothing else. I think that's the best thing for me. So when I'm wearing a mask, I'm always chewing cloves because I am very conscious of
you know what
any
I'm
kind
conscious of. When we see our videos, I'm constantly chewing gum. And lately I've been feeling, is that unprofessional? Does it look gross?
Oh,
because
please.
even at Zoom meetings and all, I'm constantly like, and I'm like, yeah, but luckily, yeah, even I have a chewing gum obsession, thanks to not smoking. So I've always felt like, okay, my breath should not be bad because I constantly, I have, like, out of 24 hours, 10 hours I've got mint happening in my mouth. But again, to a point where a dentist told me, hey, you might want to calm down on chewing that much gum, you know, because your enamel is getting fat.
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of, I think we're kind of, getting to a point of, conclusion where I just want to ask you, what are the non-negotiables, and put it out there for queer people, men, women, everyone in between, when it comes to sex, when it comes to the act of sex or getting intimate. What are the hygiene things, everyone, because there are so many listeners who are kind of venturing newly into this space. What are the non-negotiables according to you?
See, everything at some point, I feel like I've not encountered dick cheese in like 15 years, yeah? But I'm assuming that would be a no-no.
Of course.
But honestly, you know, a lot of, even we've had this conversation about, oops, you've not douched, you know. I don't get grossed out because I know that I might scar this person. See, I'll give you an example. This kitchen sink thing that you just said, you know, when you bring it up, I know how deeply it affected you all those years ago for it to still play on your psyche in that sense, you know. I'll give you an example. I hooked up with a boy around 3 years ago. He came over and he was gagging on my cock while blowing me, like, you know, deep throating me. And accidentally a little bile happened and I laughed and I was like, relax, it's okay. And, you know, don't worry. I was totally trying to make him feel okay, but I just saw how embarrassed he was. And to make matters worse, I actually, once I wiped and washed up and everything, I actually had amazing sex with him. I had a great time and all of that. But he refused to meet me because he was so embarrassed by that moment. And I'm trying to tell him, listen, it's okay.
No big deal.
You know, it's these are bodily things. You know, sorry, I don't want to like make too much out of nothing. But I was recently giving my dad's reached a point in life where sometimes I have to give him a bath, you know. And I was washing his nutsack and I was like, I was in there at some point, you know. So what I'm trying to say is I'm one of those kind of thinkers, that we are all just meat and bones and blood,
Yeah,
bags of meat, bones and blood. So why do I go ew this, but then I will vehemently eat a guy's asshole out, Like,
yeah, exactly.
I always
Got it.
question that. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, like for example, I think let's keep our breath fresh. I mean, everyone likes fresh breath.
yeah.
It's not a, I mean, without making things like, a mandate and
And
stuff
get
like that.
no, honestly, also go to a dentist. A lot of
Yeah,
times
yeah.
it's not because it's not a
See, again,
personal
I think
hygiene
so.
issue.
Here's the thing. I will say when we say dentist, it just obviously it comes from a place of privilege for us because we can afford a dentist. I get it.
Sorry.
But I'm saying just like the bare minimum, just fresh breath. Is
Yeah.
there are
No, I meant like
just
sometimes it's a medical
medical
condition.
issue,
Like,
of course, yeah.
yeah.
But I'm saying that's not a non-negotiable. I'm saying
Sure. Take care
when
of it.
you're encountering, yeah,
Yeah.
just that. And of course, like when it comes to your shithole, your asshole, I think the lighter you feel, the better. And when
Yeah.
you feel like it's light,
Mm,
you're up for business. If you
mm.
feel uncomfortable, then you know that you will be uncomfortable. And I think
Yeah.
listen to your body about it. So
Okay.
I would just say those are my couple
Yeah.
of
I thought of
hygiene
one
to do.
non-negotiable quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a big P for me. But when people have a white, I call it slobber chops. When
Hmm.
people have white gunk
Yeah,
around
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah, yeah,
lips,
yeah.
yeah, that's a big no-no. That really, because then I can't focus what the person
Hmm.
is saying. I'm just like, in Austin Powers, mole. I go into that zone.
Hmm.
Guacamole. Yeah, I go into that zone. But yeah, other than that, I guess like anything can be conveyed and
Of
in a
course, yeah.
nice way, and it can be like received also well if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's it for this segment for episode today. We'll be right back for a final happy sort of segment called Small Talk. All right, our final segment. We're talking small talk, and what we do here is give our recommendations for anything happy, anything that's a little bit of joy, basically for us.
Go for it,
So,
Sunetro.
Farhad, why don't you
Oh,
start? Yeah.
okay. I'm late to the party, but I finally saw Wanda Vision. Okay.
Finally,
Uh,
that's.
uh,
I mean, isn't it
yeah.
amazing?
It's it's great. It's almost outstanding until it's one of those the end kind of almost ruined it for me. But I love the show and I'm a big Catherine Hahn fan. So like this is it just hit the spot. But again, I felt like it was one of those shows that kind of undid a lot of things that it ran the risk of undoing a lot of shit that the first 8 or 9 episodes are. The last episode was kind of crap. But I don't know. I felt like I felt very nice about my knowledge of pop culture because what happened was when I was watching the show, I was like, wow, this black and white is so like I Love Lucy. And when they go to the 70s, I was like, oh, this is like, and then 80s, and I was like, oh, this is very like Roseanne Full House, and oh, this is very like Malcolm in the Middle. And then there's one in the final or in the second last episode where they actually show the shows they were inspired from, and I was right on every decade. And I was like, wow. So I felt proud. I love that side of it, apart from the geeky Marvel.
Hmm.
And I love that it wasn't too much of that, this whole which the last episode was very Marvel.
Hmm.
But I like this whole departure from a superhero kind of this and a very fresh take, I felt. So I definitely, it's something I would recommend, WandaVision for this week for people who've not seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a it's like a one season
It's
only.
one season only. As of
Huh.
now, it's been touted as
But
that. So
Marvel,
yeah.
I know, the moment they realize, paisa aa gaya, matlab now they'll make hajar things out of this.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So well, my recommendation is a film called Promising Young Woman. I watched it a couple of days back. It was on my radar. It's one of those Oscar nominated films, and um, I'll tell you why I love the film. I do believe that there is a significant difference when a woman tells a woman's story, when a queer person tells a queer person's story, when a trans person tells a trans person's story, because there is this sense of enriched experience that kind of
Sure.
informs it. And that's why I love Promising Young Woman, because it's a story that kind of revolves around being you're basically uh, sexual abuse and assault, um, but at the same time it's done with such sharpness and such um, deft, and it could only have been a woman, and it could only have been written by a woman and directed by a woman. And for me to see that power radiate through the screen is just fantastic. And Carrie Mulligan is the lead in the film. And I will let you guys, I mean, spoiler alert, I will let you guys in on how the ending's very kind of controversial. So anyone who's watched the film can, why don't you talk to me about it? But I do feel like it's a very real, gritty story about how to tackle assault, and um, how to go on a like how do you look for retribution when it comes to something like that. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic film, and if there's any justice, I'm rooting for Carrie Mulligan to win the Best Actress Oscar, to be honest. She's my pick for the 5. I don't know whether she'll win it, but I think quality wise, in terms of the 5 performances, I personally found this performance the most nuanced. So yeah, Promising Young
Wow,
Woman by
I'll
by Emerald Fennell. Please watch it. It's fantastic.
watch it tonight. I have it loaded on a pen drive in my TV right now.
Amazing.
I've not
Amazing.
seen it, so I'm kind of excited now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our episode for this week. Do keep writing to us. We get lovely messages from you. You've been sending in lots of recommendations. So and I got a couple of messages on the new format. So thank you for saying that you like it. And I'm glad that you guys are liking it. Please keep sending recommendations. And yeah, so we'll see you next week, I guess.
We will. Thanks, Sunetro. This was amazing. I have to say, I started off in such a foul mood.
Yeah,
but
like
I feel
yeah.
yeah, I was so cranky and irritated, and I'm going back into it again as I'm saying bye, because I'll have to deal with my background again. But thank you again for like.
All right.
Just I feel
Pleasure
way
to
better.
talk to you always.
All right, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.